Got the house all to myself and I don't know what to do with myself. Hang on.
It's not too late to come by my house, even though the sun is coming out. 'Cause I'm still up, that's what I do when I'm all alone. I think of you.
Hello, c'est moi. It has been but a moment for me, probably a lot longer for you. I'm not wearing the same clothes several days running. I'm recording several videos back to back in case you think I'm a dirty beggar. So, I have just recorded my May catch-up. Yes, folks, May. I have not done a catch-up since April. So I'm going to be doing May, June and July today for you. It's with me not doing movie reviews, I thought I would try and do one video a month just with what I've watched. If you've any specific questions about any of the movies I've covered that I haven't answered for you, just pop them below in the comments. I will get to them eventually, folks. I'm just taking a little bit more of a laid back approach to YouTube and doing videos when I fancy or when I get the time. But yeah, let's get let's get kicked off with what I watched in June, if this screen recorder would ever work. Bing! So on June the 1st I went to the cinema to see Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Thoroughly entertaining, fun, not going to win any awards. Ryan Reynolds was the reason I wanted to see this. A lot of people weren't happy with him voicing Pikachu. I loved the fact he voiced Pikachu. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I didn't think it was amazing. I didn't think it was crap. My son's a big fan, hence why we went to see it. You could watch worse things at the cinema. On the 7th, right now, this is coming up under movies. It's not a movie, it's Chernobyl, which is the very highly talked about. Is it a Netflix? Yes, I think it's a Netflix show. Very, very sobering, quite distressing. No, it's not a documentary. It's like a drama series based on what happened at Chernobyl. Very gritty, very dark, very, very good. It's not something you want to watch for feel good. It's not something you want to watch if you want something easy, but it's well worth a watch, folks. Chernobyl, I would recommend that highly. I give that a 4 out of 5. On the same day, I watched The Upside just to cheer myself up a bit. This is a movie with, let me get their names, Kevin Hart and Bryan Cranston. Bryan Cranston you would know as Breaking Bad, Walter White, and Kevin Hart, loads of comedies. Bryan Cranston's character is in a wheelchair, he's paraplegic, he needs a new carer, very similar to another couple of movies that I can think of, Me Without You, there is another one, but Kevin Hart inadvertently falls into the role of carer completely by accident, and this movie brings together two very contrary personalities with quite funny consequences. It's a very moving movie. It's quite deep in places, but it's funny, and it's got really good performances from both actors. It's easy to watch, but it's not banal. It's not like surface level stuff. It's a decent movie. I enjoyed it. So that's The Upside. On the 8th, the next day, I watched another Netflix movie, a sci-fi movie called I Am Mother. I enjoyed this. This is a movie, I'll just read what it says here. A teenage girl is raised underground by a robot mother designed to repopulate the Earth following an extinction event, but their unique bond is threatened when an inexplicable stranger arrives with alarming, I'm going to guess the next word should be consequences. So yeah, this movie is about a young girl that has lived her entire life on a spaceship, I suppose, but not in space, and her only company has been a robot which she knows as her mother, and the whole process is to repopulate what I just basically read out. But someone comes along and upsets the status quo somewhat. Yeah, and I never thought I'd say status quo when my husband wasn't in the house. But yeah, I Am Mother. I give that a 3.5 out of 5. I really enjoyed it actually, so check it out if you like a bit of sci-fi horror. Same day, When They See Us. What one's this? Oh yes, right. This is the movie that started my obsession this past couple of months with anything true crime based, any documentaries. This is the story about the Harlem, was it 5? Yeah, the Harlem 5. 5 teens from Harlem become trapped in a nightmare when they are falsely accused of a brutal attack in Central Park. This is a movie which is a true story about 5 young boys from Harlem who were in the wrong place at the wrong time when a very vicious assault takes place. The person barely pulls through. It's a true story. You probably know about it. There's a few cases in the public eye of like Birmingham 6, the Guildford 4, of people that were wrongly accused, that were convicted. And this is one of those stories, and what's really upsetting about this is these were young boys. They were teenagers, but not near to being adults. It's very moving, it's very upsetting, it's a very interesting and compelling story. There is also on Netflix, is it called Where Are They Now? When They See Us Now? Is it with Oprah? I haven't watched it. There's an interview with the actual real guys. So yeah, you can watch that on Netflix. But When They See Us, I have actually watched a documentary about this also, which I'd also highly recommend, which I cannot remember what it's called, but if I've put it in here, I will tell you later. So When They See Us. I gave that 4 out of 5. Ninth, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, cinema, 3.5 out of 5. I did do a review for this after we watched it, or maybe just in a vlog. I did enjoy it. The monsters were spectacular. There was, it's not going to win any acting awards, but there was nothing wrong with it, and what it needed to have was kick-ass awesome monsters, and it had that. Isaac loved it, so yeah, thoroughly enjoyable. Godzilla. Jesus, I watched 4 movies that day. The same day I watched Greta, which I'd been wanting to see a long time, which a lot of people had been quite negative about, said they were quite disappointed in it. This is the one. A young woman returns an elderly widow's lost purse, leading to an unlikely relationship between the two, until the young woman discovers her elder might not be all that she seems. This stars Chloe Grace Moretz and Isabelle Hubert. I really enjoyed this. I enjoy anything with an interesting character play, with decent acting, with different levels. Things like Misery, Kathy Bates, and I was going to say Paul Sheldon, James Caan's characters in that, and the interplay just makes that movie for me. This movie, the character play again in this, I loved. So yeah, I would recommend Greta. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it a 3 out of 5, which maybe I should have given it more. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. Same day, Life in the Doghouse. Oh my life, I was meant to do a separate video about this. I'm going to try and not go off on one here, but it's going to be difficult. Right, the tagline is 2 men, 1 mission, 10,000 lives. This is on Netflix. Please, please go and watch this. Life in the Doghouse tells the inspiring story behind Danny and Ron's rescue, a dog rescue centre started by life partners Ron Danta and Danny Robertshaw. The 2 men were moved to act after Hurricane Katrina left thousands of dogs stranded and abandoned. The 2 men set up a makeshift dog sanctuary in their home, you heard that right, and 10 years later they have housed and rescued over 10,000 of these furry, and it doesn't say anything else. This is amazing. These 2 guys are saints. One of the guys is really unwell, and they don't have holidays, they don't go anywhere, they don't do anything. Their entire life, their work, everything is about these animals. Their house is immaculate, but it is full top to bottom with dogs. I just fell in love with this couple and what they're trying to do and what they have done. So much so that I set up a direct debit every month to donate. I thoroughly recommend this, folks. If you're dog lovers, please watch this. It's just such a delight. It's all I can say. It restores your faith in some of mankind to watch. I just loved it. Loved it. But it's a thumbs up from me. So again, on the 9th, same day, Last Breath. I quite like this one. It was this was a... Oh, I've got pins and needles on my legs. A commercial diver is stranded on the seabed with only 5 minutes of oxygen supply, but with no chance of rescue for more than 30 minutes. With access to an amazing archive, this is the true story of one man's impossible fight. Why can I never get into the next flipping page? This is a true story. There is dramatisation. There is also real footage. And it is what it says it is. This man gets stuck with 5 minutes of oxygen, and it takes a lot longer than 5 minutes to rescue him. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Would thoroughly recommend it. I gave that one a 4 out of 5. I'm a sucker for a true story, folks. What can I say? On the 10th, Bundy and the Green River Killer. Watch this following. Obviously, they've released this very, very intelligently around the sort of Ted Bundy movie. Why did they call it that shockingly wicked, evil, and vile, whatever the hell it's called? Because no fucker can remember it. I didn't like this. I gave it 1 star. Let's just not waste any time on it. On the 14th, Murder Mystery. This is a Netflix movie with Adam Sandler and Jennifer... Why have I forgotten her name? Aniston. I love Adam Sandler. His movies recently haven't been that good, let's be serious. Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison, Airheads, all that sort of thing. Love it. But he's a good, serious actor. Watch the Cobbler with Adam Sandler. Awesome. Anyway, this is a comedy. It's just an easy watch. It's okay. I enjoyed it. It's not going to win any big prizes, but it's a nice way to fill an hour and a half. Same evening, 5 Feet Apart. Oh, this made me cry. I remember this. Right, 17-year-old Stella. Right, this is about a girl who has cystic fibrosis, who is in hospital undergoing treatment. She meets a boy with the same condition, but a slightly worse strain than hers. And the rule is that they cannot get any closer than 6 feet. They kind of break that a little bit. They get 5 feet, hence the name of the movie. But obviously they fall in love. That's not a spoiler, that's what the movie's about. When you look at the cover, you can see that's what it's about. And it's about their relationship and how they try to overcome the obstacle of not being able to touch one another. I cried at this, I will quite openly admit this. This got to me, this movie. Beautifully acted, really nice movie. Probably one for girls. I gave that a 3.5 out of 5. 5 Feet Apart. 15th, Men in Black International. Went to the cinema to see it. Enjoyed it. Didn't think it was amazing. Didn't think it was as crap as everybody's raving on about. It was alright. Same night, Discovering Bigfoot. Right, this was a documentary about Bigfoot, about a guy. Is that the one about the guy? Yes, this is I think it's the one about Todd Standing. Is it him? He says that he has Bigfoot footage and it shows you it, and it goes out into the woods and things happen and you're like, is it Bigfoot? Isn't it Bigfoot? It's one of those things you have to like make up your own mind. But I wanted to see a lot more than it showed me, so it was a bit of a letdown for me, that one. On the 16th, Into the Wild. Right, I watched this on a recommendation from my friend Chris from Chris and Toria channel, formerly Two Vloggers More, who I'm going to meet soon in Florida. Very excited. This is a movie directed by Sean Penn. It is a true story. If anybody knows the story, Christopher McCandless, he graduates Emory University. He's from a very well-to-do background. The world's his oyster, and he decides to take off. He abandons all his possessions. He's got $24,000 in savings, which he gives to charity. He hitchhikes to Alaska to live in the, I can't remember, but it's his story of his life and what happened when he got where he went and how it all worked out for him. Very true story, very interesting, very moving. There's 2 different trains of thought about the guy. A lot of people think he was very brave and courageous. A lot of people think he was very bloody stupid. But either way, watch it and make your own mind up. Into the Wild. Very good movie. I would thoroughly recommend that. 4 out of 5. 18th. A 12-Year Night. I've given that 4.5 out of 10. 4.5 out of 5. What the hell was that? Oh god, yes, right. I'm not going to be able to... It's been so long ago. Right, La Noche did... What's 12 in Spanish? Oh, fuck. La Noche de 12, which I can't remember, años. Uruguay, 1973, having been crushed by the military dictatorship, surviving members of the Tupamaro guerrillas are imprisoned and tortured. They must find a way to endure the coming 12 years. True story, moving, upsetting, crushes your feelings about human nature. A lot of these movies do though for me. When you see what goes on in war and certain atrocities and how prisoners can be treated, and I don't mean prisoners like that have done stuff, I mean prisoners of war. It's upsetting, fantastically acted. Antonio de la Torre, Chino Darin, Alfonso Tort, Cesar Chonsco. I don't know if you know any of those names, but really, really recommend that. A 12-Year Night. That is on Netflix at the moment. On the 19th, right, here we go, we're into the whole true story palaver. Mommy, Dead and Dearest. Right. Oh my life. I have had a bit of a fixation for 2 months with true crime. I need to make sure this doesn't switch off. Oh, if it does, it does. I am going to hopefully bring in my channel forward, however often. I would like to do it once a week, but I'm not going to say I will because I might not. I want to focus on a different true crime and talk to you guys about it and see what you think and maybe tell you some stuff that you don't know. So, Mommy, Dead and Dearest is about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, who is a young girl who's in a wheelchair who... How much detail do I go into here? No, I'm not going to go into detail because I will save that for when I do the series. Mommy, Dead and Dearest is about Gypsy Rose Blanchard, a young girl in a wheelchair with a plethora of different medical problems, who's been looked after her whole life by her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. Everything is not as it appears to the outside. What's going on behind closed doors isn't quite what you would expect. This culminates in a very shocking crime. There's a court case. It's shocking stuff. It's, if you watched it, you would say, that didn't happen, but it did. It is, you have to watch this. At the moment, I just finished last night a show called The Act, which stars Patricia Arquette, who is one of my favourite actresses. I love the woman. She's just, I love her. And what's the young, Joey Keane, the young girl that plays Gypsy Rose. She just completely transformed herself from this beautiful, beautiful actress. Shaved her head. She encapsulated that character. The walk, the very, very specific way that Gypsy Rose speaks. She was just perfect. I would thoroughly recommend that as well. The Act was released earlier this year. It's the actual dramatisation of the true story, Mommy, Dead and Dearest. And it's really interesting, really compelling stuff. I would is that switched off again? It has. Fucking hell. Pardon my language. So you can see there in the screen, if it's working, that is Gypsy Rose Blanchard there in the picture. That's a wig. She has no hair. She's obsessed by princesses. That's why she's dressed the way she is. And that is her mother in the little insert. You can probably guess, given the title, Mommy, Dead and Dearest, what happens. But yeah, watch it if you like true crime. If you don't want to watch it, tune into my true crime thing, which I'll probably cover this one first, actually. So yeah, Mommy, Dead and Dearest. Very, very highly recommended. Oh, Jesus, what time? 18 minutes. This is going to take too long because it's getting into loads of things I'm interested in. The 20th, I watched The Thin Blue Line. I will go into loads of details about these. Eric Morris's unique documentary dramatically reenacts the crime scene investigation of a police officer's murder. Won't go into any more detail. True story, true footage, witnesses spoken to. We follow the case through to the person accused of this crime. A lot of things happen that will have you raising eyebrows. Very interesting true crime documentary, which I feel like I'm not telling you anything, but if I do, I'm going to be sat here half an hour. So, because I would say when I do my true crime series, which I hope to do, the videos are going to be at least 15-20 minutes each, going into each case, so I won't go into any more detail. 3.5 out of 5, recommend that one. Right, then came You. What's this? Oh, right, yeah. Right, this has got the young lad, was he in Atypical? Asa Butterfield. I watched this because Maisie Williams is in it. What did she play in Game? She was one of my favourite characters in Game of Thrones. She had Needle. What's her name? Stark. Arya Stark. Right, so she plays a cancer sufferer who goes to a support group, who meets a hypochondriac young lad there. They have a very weird friendship. They're very contrasting, very different young people, and it sort of like follows what each of them do for each other, how it brings out changes in their personalities. It's just a really nice little story. Yeah, so if you want to watch something that's just a sweet, nice little story, then came You. 22nd, Toy Story 4. Went to the cinema to see this, thoroughly enjoyed it. It's Toy Story, of course I did. Still not as good as number one. None of them is as good as number one for me, but I did really enjoy it. 22nd, Darren finally watched Bohemian Rhapsody for the first time, so I sat through it again. Loved. Rami Malek is a genius. There's very few people I would praise to that degree, but he got Freddie so spot on. And that movie, it makes me sad and it makes my heart sing all at the same time. It ended on the perfect note. I'm so pleased I didn't go into his decline in health. But it's very sad, and it sort of brought forward Freddie's loneliness, and it's a bittersweet movie, but I love it. I love it. Again, 22nd, Paradise Lost, The Child Murders at Robin Hood Hills, 5 out of 5. I think there are 3 of these. There is the initial documentary, then a follow-up one so many years later, and then a third follow-up one. What does it say about this? A horrific triple child murder leads to an indictment and trial of 3 non-conformist boys based on questionable evidence. Some people I have got on my friends list. Childred, I don't know who that is. He gave it a 5 out of 5 as well. These true crime things and people that are accused and the evidence that's used and the techniques. If you enjoy programs like Making a Murderer, these documentaries you need to watch. This one I didn't know about. Again, I will go into it at a later date, but basically one young lad is accused purely because he's the only freak in the village. He's gothic. People think he looks odd. He dresses odd. He wears black. And yeah, it goes into the case. It talks about the children. There are photographs shown in this that are very upsetting. I was quite surprised at, because things like that are usually kept back, but there are photographs shown of dead children that are upsetting. So if you do watch that, be aware of that. But it follows the case, what happened to the children, the investigation, the witnesses, the culprits, or let's just say not the culprits, the people who were accused. But yeah, that's 22nd I watched the first one. 23rd I watched the second 2. So Paradise Lost 2 and 3. The first one is called The Child Murders at Robin Hood Hills. The second one is called Revelations, and the third one is called Purgatory. And there's twists and turns all the way through. You think you've it figured out and you haven't. Very, very interesting. It had me fooled. I thought I'd figured it out, and just let's say at the end you won't be entirely satisfied because there's not like a neat little bow. It's not completely answered, but yeah, you'll probably have your own thoughts when you watch it. But I will go into that at a later date. 25th, The Family I Had. Alright, this is the one where a young lad, do we have his name down here? No. This is a documentary again about a young boy who kills his little sister. His little sister's very young. I can't remember exactly. Please do not say, oh, but she was maybe 4 or 5, maybe a bit older. She was young. He was a teenager and he killed her. And this talks to the mother, talks to him, and tries to get to the bottom of why he did what he did. Shocking case. It's not as good as some of the others I've watched. Excuse me, I just burped in. But yeah, it's interesting. 26th, Dream Deceivers, the story behind James Vance versus Judas Priest. Darren told me about this and I watched this and it was so funny. Heavy metal goes on trial. A chilling post-mortem on the tragic case of 2 teenagers who decided to shoot themselves in the head with a shotgun. And the ensuing court case staged to place the blame on the heavy metal band Judas Priest. It is what it says on the tin. That's what happened. And they had, right, my brain's gone blank. The singer from Judas Priest. Rob Halford. It would come to me eventually. They had him in court reading out the lyrics to one of his songs that they are saying influenced these teenagers, and I can't remember what the lyrics were, but it was really funny, and the way Rob Halford was reading it out was really amusing to me. I probably shouldn't be laughing because two kids shot themselves in the head, but to blame music, to blame, Marilyn Manson got this, Ozzy Osbourne got this. It's ridiculous, but it's interesting. That's Dream Deceivers. So yeah, check that one out. Dream Killer is the next one. Ryan Ferguson is convicted and sentenced to 40 years in prison for a crime he did not commit. Dream Killer is the story of how his father embarked on a 10-year campaign to prove Ryan's innocence. The film is chock full of incredible characters, from the questionable district attorney, the highly confused witness, the high-powered Chicago attorney, and the doctor, depicting both a highly flawed justice system as well as one that can work brilliantly. So the first line of that kind of gives away that he didn't do it, but these programs, when they start, you will know the angle they're coming from. It's not going to be any spoiler. So that lad's father is if it wasn't for him, I dread to think what could have happened to that young man, what he was being accused of. But his father was like a dog with a bone. He would not let it go. He just deserves so much. He dedicated his life to proving his son was innocent. So yeah, Dream Killer. 27th, The Jinx, The Life and Deaths of Robert Durst. I was away on one. I think this was a series. This guy is a really interesting individual. 4 decades, 3 murders, and 1 very rich suspect. Robert Durst, S-C-I-O-N, Scion, I've never heard of that word, of one of New York's billionaire real estate families, has been accused of 3 murders but never convicted. Brilliant, reclusive, and the subject of relentless media scrutiny, he's never spoken publicly until now. During interviews with Andrew Jarecki, he reveals secrets of the case that baffled authorities for 30 years. In 2010, Jarecki made the narrative film All Good Things, based on the infamous story of Robert Durst. After Durst saw the film that this director made, he contacted him and said, look, I want to tell my story, will you do it? What began as a feature documentary ultimately became a 6-part series. Really, really interesting. The Jinx, The Life and Deaths of Robert Durst. This will have you up and down, inside out, thinking you figured it out, realising you haven't. Really, really interesting. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I gave that 4 out of 5. 27th, Family Man, Family Murderer, and ID Mystery. I don't even remember what that is. Oh yes, Chris Watts appeared to have it all. A happy family, a beautiful home, and a growing family. But what that image of perfection was shattered when his pregnant wife and 2 daughters went missing from their home in the small town of Frederick, Colorado. And this is looking into what happened to his wife and 2 children. Again, very interesting court case, witnesses, CCTV, all of this stuff. If you like true crime, really interesting. I will be covering all these guys in the future. You can see what I spent the last 2 months doing. 29th, Bus 174. So this is based in Rio de Janeiro. Documentary depicts what happened in Rio de Janeiro in June 2000 when Bus 174 was taken by an armed young man threatening to shoot all the passengers. Basically, there was a standoff for a long time. There were a load of TV cameras there that captured everything. Yeah, I don't want to go into the ins and outs of what happened because I didn't know when I started to watch it where it was going and what would happen. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, it's worth watching. That's Bus 174. The 30th, we're getting there, folks. I've only 3 more left, and 3 of the 3 documentaries. I really like this one. There's Something Wrong with Aunt Diane. So this covers Diane Schuler taking her family, her daughters and nieces, I believe, home from a family holiday, and inexplicably starts driving erratically, starts feeling really strange. One of the children calls the family, panicking. There's something wrong with Aunt Diane, hence the title. So this covers the inexplicable car journey from that holiday point to driving home. There's CCTV footage in between of stops at a gas station, and one of the young girl's phones, I think possibly her dad, panicking. There's something wrong with Aunt Diane. She won't slow down. She's driving erratically. There's interviews from other motorists on the road that saw her, and there is a horrendous and fatal crash. I won't tell you who dies, who doesn't, but this is trying to look into what happened and why it happened, and if they can get any answers as to what happened. This one, I wasn't satisfied with the conclusion of this, is all I will say. I think there's more to it, so yeah. But I did enjoy the documentary. 30th, Lorena. I didn't finish this. I started this. It was a series about Lorena Bobbitt, who very famously chopped off her husband's tallywhacker. I don't know. That's taken straight from the movie Massacre Dictionary. Yeah, and it interviews him and it interviews her, and it goes into detail about what happened and about one of the policemen refusing to pick it. I'm not picking that up. Shouldn't be laughing, it's not funny. But it got a bit dull, it got a bit boring. It became more about him promoting himself and her just trying to pretend to be innocent. You know, it's... To be honest, I wouldn't overly recommend that one. It was okay, but I don't know, I expected more. And lastly, I'm really sorry that I don't know how long this has gone on because it switched off on me and I had to switch it back on. Lastly, Ed Gein, how is it pronounced? I think it's Gein, Ed Gein. The Real Leatherface Serial Killer. It is what it says on the tin. It's a documentary about Ed Gein. I don't know. Let's switch this thing off so one thing's done at least. Just a story that everyone knows. It was interesting. Oh, he was a loner. You never would have thought it. Blah, 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 blah. They say this about all these weird willies. But yeah, that is what I watched in June. Bit of a true crime fixation, methinks. But as I say, some of those stories are so interesting. The ones I would recommend overall would be the Mummy Dead and Dearest, the Paradise Lost one, and the one about the Harlem 5. They were excellent, and I really enjoyed What's Wrong with Aunt Diane, but it didn't have a very satisfactory ending for me. So speaking of true crime and unsatisfactory endings, I don't know if you guys will all be aware of this one or just us in the UK and Ireland. There's a young girl from Belfast called Nora Koren who recently went on holiday. She was 14 with her parents to Malaysia. She had some mental challenges that meant she did not have the mental age of 14. She was much younger mentally, wasn't very independent, was very sort of close to her parents. Anyway, long story short, she got out of her hotel. Do I even want to say got out? She disappeared in the middle of the night, and when the family woke up in the morning, she was gone. As I say, I don't know if this has reached TV in the US or anyone watching this, but she was missing for 11 days before they found her. They had the army, the police, volunteers. There were hundreds of people searching for this little girl who, like I say, was not very, she wasn't someone that could have got by on smarts. She wasn't someone that would have been resourceful. She was not independent. She wouldn't have wandered off on her own, especially not in a strange place. But she was found, her body was found, unfortunately. I think this was last week. And the upsetting thing is that from the post-mortem, it said that she lived for, I think, 8 or 9 days. She was found after 11, so she'd only been dead a couple of days when they found her. They did a post-mortem. Now, this is what I find really suspect. The post-mortem said that she died of hunger and stress. And they determined this because there was bleeding in her stomach. Hunger after 11 days, when she was in the middle of a rainforest that was full of water that she could have drunk, and she was found in an area that had already extensively been searched. The army and police were out with the loudspeakers, they were playing her mother's voice. The area had been combed. She was found a mile from the hotel, and they've basically closed it and said there's no suspicious circumstances. The family aren't happy, and I'm not at all surprised because Parents know their own child, and they would know that it would not be in her nature to wander off when she's just never done it before and she's too frightened to. So I don't know, what do you guys think of that? Anyone that's aware of the case? If you're not, her name is Nora, Nora Koren, I think is spelled Quoirin. Let me know what you think of that, because me and my husband both don't think the post-mortem is entirely accurate. It just doesn't seem to be to me. But anyway, that is the July, no it's not, that is the June one closed off. I think that's the longest one. I hope that's the longest one. So yeah, if you've watched all of this, thank you. I've waffled, I bore myself. So if you're still here, muchos thankos. That's not Spanish. Muchos gracias. Gracias, as my dad would say. That's what you get when you fall down. Right, I'm gonna go. Oh, Royal Mail. What's that? Am I gonna get some? We delivered your parcel. Delivered your parcel. My frickin' arse. Do you know what they did? I got back from dropping off Darren and Isaac at the airport. They had thrown over a parcel over my back fence into my backyard. It's been pissing it down all day. Torrential rain, and it was Isaac's new school shoes that I've ordered from Clark's, which are flipping expensive. Wasn't best pleased. Thankfully they're not damaged, but that's not the point. They threw a cardboard box over the fence into my back garden and it got pissed on. Not happy. Right, that's the end of that. You don't want to hear any more about that. Thank you for watching. I will have another video coming at some stage with my July watches. So run out from Lisa Lives.